Hi everyone, it's Keith over here. Okay, all right, there we go. It looks like we've got most of the other people who have come through and joined us. Oh, okay, so just to start off with, hi everyone, my name is Keith. Right. I will be your trainer for this specific session of iVend. Well, for the next 5 days actually. And with a little bit of luck, on the 5th day, we will be able to go get you all through your exams. Now, I'm just looking through the list of attendees here, and I do see some old faces. Hello, Anthony. I guess that you're on one of the ones that is marked as you. Definitely, I'm surprised you need some training on this, but I suppose everyone needs to catch up every now and again. And I'm also seeing some new faces, so thank you so much all for going and joining us. It's so nice to go see everyone, quite literally from across the time zone, to go and join us on this training, and even outside the time zone if I'm reading some of these correctly. So thank you once again so much for joining us. Yeah. So first things first, right. This over here, this next session that we're having, these next couple of sessions we're having over the week, these are more introductory sessions than anything else. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. 2 hours a day is not really enough to get too in-depth with iVend to actually learn how everything works. I'm going to recommend that you go along to the City Access Knowledge Portal and you go and you do the videos that are on there as well in addition to this. If you go and as you do some of those videos, you may indeed hear my own dulcet tones going and gently telling you exactly what to do. Please listen. We spent quite a bit of time going and getting all that running. And I do hope that they are helpful, or at least I'd like to think so. So, without too much further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen in a minute. And if you can just please put up your hands if you can see my screen. Okay, Kirsty, thank you. Right, Kirsty can see my screen. Can anyone else see my screen? Is everyone else awake? Right. I will have emergency coffees sent to you guys if you want. That might take some time to get there, but we'll see what we can organize. Okay, all right. I think we got a couple who are, okay, there we go. So, all right, thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions, please go and put them, some of you have already found the questions box. Yes, thank you, Chana. And please, guys, if I do not pronounce your name correctly, I'm terribly, deeply sorry. It's, yeah, it's, if I do get it right, well, yeah, that's that's great. If I do get it wrong, then yeah, don't feel, then you can correct me. Don't worry too much about that. I'm not precious. So, no, you're welcome, Tana. Okay, all right, well, that's good. So I'm glad that everyone can see that. Let's go and get a start on this. We are going to be going through the retail management training, retail management solution training over here. We are going to go and I'm going to try and keep it as straightforward as possible. Session 1, session 2, there are actually multiple sessions that we go through over here. We do not obviously have this luxury of time that I show you over here. But we do actually have a fair bit of it that we are going to have to go through. So once again, videos online, please review them. It is definitely recommended viewing. And once you do that, so yes, you can come over here. You can view the document store, downloads, all the rest of it. If you, in fact, I'm going to actually say, guys, if you have not signed up here first, you should have, because otherwise I don't really know how you signed in for the site. But if somebody else signed in for you and you now need to go and if somebody else signed in for you and you're now borrowing that sign in, please come sign in over here. Please remember to sign in with your work email address. There will be a sign in box up here by this blue bar. Sign in over there. Log in, you'll be able to go get access to all the forums and all the rest of the wonderful things over there. I see people like Anthony are all over that. So you'll also, that's the other nice thing with the actual forums themselves. A lot of people do interact over there, and trust me, Trust me, the partners do it. All of our partners do it as well, and it's really worth it because there is gold in those forums. I'll leave it to you to mine it, but there is gold there. Trust me. So, with that done, let's go just back across over here to iVend Introduction and Training. So now I'm going to need to go and run, like I said, I'm going to need to run through this pretty quickly. Before I actually head too much further into this, there is one other thing I do recommend you do, and that is on the forums themselves. Go and download iVend Retail. Go and download the DemoStack. That is over in the Partner Kit page, and you can download it and get that in, running, and set up. That really, please do that. It will make this training so much more effective. So with that, let's go and actually dive in. And today, essentially, I'm going to try and familiarize you guys with iVend Retail. And my first question that I have for you guys is, if I can please have a show of hands, who is familiar with retail? Anthony, you don't need to put up your hand. Guys, if you can please put up your hands if you are familiar with retail. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Victoria. Okay, right there. So we do have some guys who are familiar with retail. Anthony, I know you're familiar with retail, unless you're not, Anthony, in which case put up your hand. So, or not. Okay, and a couple of questions over there. Not so clear. Okay, that's fine. So if that's the case, I'm guessing that some of you guys are also doing things like ERP, be they SAP, Sage, Nav, or Microsoft, or whatever else there might be. Because of that, I'm going to try and gear this as much towards the, oh, yes, definitely China. Well, we'll get that all done. So I'm going to try and gear this towards explaining to you as much as I can, specifically from a retail point of view. Guys, one of my biggest recommendations for you for this entire thing is retail is not ERP. Okay? I spent approximately 12, 14 years as a SAP Business One consultant. Before that, I was a Navision consultant. In between, I've also helped on Sage sites, which include Sage 300, Sage X3, Sage 1, as well as QuickBooks, as well as Uniconta, as well as others. And I will tell you right now, the one thing I've learned is that retail is not ERP. Please be very much aware of that. Because of that, retail does weird things. I will point out some of these as we go through training. Some of these things do not make sense if you look at it from an ERP perspective, but if you look at it from a retail perspective, they very much make sense. So now that I've put that threat out there onto the airwaves, let's go and actually move on with actually what iVend is. Now the first overview over here, and you'll have to forgive me, this slide is a little bit old, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 30 seconds and just update it, right, with our new slide, using the power of the internet and editing. There we go. Much editing. Okay, so here we go. This over here is one of the this over here is one of the ones that I can see is one of the slides that we're going to use a lot in our marketing. And yes, iVend is truly an omni-channel platform. Now, what is an omni-channel platform? I hear everyone asking. This is one of the main selling points for iVend, and as people who are coming into this, you do need to know about. So let's go take a little trip down the omni-channel pathway. And that falls into this over here. Now the path to purchase I'm describing over here is essentially what happens what can happen, or what is happening with lots of modern retailers. And the entire idea is that your modern retailers today will probably not use all these steps. These are all the steps that iVend does have. In fact, there's probably a bit more if you go and if you play around with it a bit. But the entire idea is these steps are available for your retailer from the get-go. So it's not a case of, oh, hang on, wait a minute. Yeah, we need to go check our roadmap and add these things in. iVend Retail already has these. Now, the best way to think about retail is to think about how you buy things. How do you go about it? My normal example is a while back I had to go buy a TV. And how did I go about it? Well, that's slightly different than how you go about buying, say, milk or bread or whatever the case might be. But more or less in the same cases, you have very similar buying decisions, buying paths. Obviously, if you're buying milk and bread, that's much simpler. It takes place at the store. But if you're buying something maybe a bit more expensive, TV, set of jeans, because Lord only knows what some of those things cost these days. But you can, in this particular case, we're going to go follow that set of jeans as they go and they get purchased. So over here, you can go and use iVend to send things like promotional emails, right? Where the guy can go and you can receive those on your cell phone. Go say, oh yes, well, hang on. Oh, they have Walmart, Macro. What are these places? I'll say Walmart and Macro are the same place if you're from South Africa. If you're not, well, Walmart will do as a substitute. So you get an email from them. And I know everyone out there has inevitably signed up for these sites. And if I have a look at my email account, I think I've got something like 10,000 unread emails because, well, everybody's emailing me every day. Well, and by the way, that's on my personal account. My work account has got, I think, 10 unread emails that I just need to go and sort out from this morning. Right? Personally, on my personal account, it's flooded with spam that just goes and, yeah, I might look at if I need to go get something, and then we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's say that you are particularly up on your personal accounts, going and reading all the email offers and promotions that come in. You can go see that there is a pair of jeans that is available. From there, if you want to, you can go browse online and see exactly where they are, which store they're at, what they're being sold at, which stores the offer is available at. From there, from there on the website, you can check the store location, and you can even navigate to the store on mobile. Okay, Chana's asks, is okay, the email will be sent directly from iVend. Yes, you can actually send it from iVend. We do actually have email functionality to actually send a campaign. But we'll come back to that, and you'll see as we go along. By the way, guys, if you have questions, please ask them. There's nothing worse than an unasked question, particularly if it's like tomorrow, and I say, well, yeah, if you'd asked that question yesterday, it would have been easy to explain. But maybe tomorrow we're on a slightly different section. So please rather ask the questions now than go and just hang around and wait for somebody else to ask them. Like I say, the only stupid question is an unasked question. So from there, back to our path to purchase. From here, we can go and check the store, Google Maps to it, go see where it is, get there on time, when it opens, closes, all the rest of that. And in the store itself, you can actually go and pick up your order that you placed online. You can then go check them out, and maybe you also say, like a shirt. That's there. Oh, well, let's go buy that. But when you get there, you see that it doesn't actually fit. Now, the actual shirt can actually be added to your order directly from Mobile POS. That's part of what our Mobile POS does. Then over there, if you don't have the right size, or if there's an issue with it, you can still go and fix it at the actual till itself, or the Mobile POS, and go and have a look at yours. And also at the same time, the person can recommend and say, hey, yeah, we don't have the shirt in that size at this store, but we maybe have it at another store, and I can arrange delivery for you, at which point the shirt can be delivered the next day to your home. So that is an idea of how a path to purchase can work. This is not the only path to purchase. This is one of them. Obviously, some of them can be much quicker. It's just go buy it at the store and walk away. But typically, this is what's happening in the retail world now. People are more connected. Twitter, Facebook, heck with it, email, SMS. These are all vital ways of communicating with your customers. And certainly we've covered a number of these options and these channels to actually get to your customer and to explain to them how things actually work. And when we've done this, we've actually done this successfully in a number of retail segments out there. So everything from fashion and footwear all the way through to bookstores, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and even, heck with it, duty-free is another one that we've done. Duty-free brings its own little set of bugbears to it. And beyond this, there are also a set of add-ons that we can use for iVend to just extend its capabilities. For instance, the optical solution is an actual optical add-on solution that we have, as well as also the things like the hospitality add-on. Yes, Victoria, I can actually go and provide I can actually provide a set of these slides. What I would actually prefer, these are not the latest slides, it's just these are the ones that I have at the moment. I would prefer if you actually went online to the knowledge portal, right? Places like the document store or wherever it might be. You can go and then download the partner kit. It does actually list all the slides over there. That's why I recommend go log in, get that all sorted over here. Okay, next up, okay, yes, in case you don't know, we are a global presence. We are not just sort of, I personally am this, you see this little dot here, this little dot in Cape Town? Yeah, that's me. So that is where I am in Cape Town, South Africa. And then we've got people spread out across the globe going and willing to help you and solve your problems 24/7. Well, not quite, but right, we are there, and we do have the support desk that is 24/5. Trust me, we've got plenty of people and places that are open, ready to go and help and solve things. So after that, now on to actually what iVend is built up of. And we're going to go into each of these sections each of these individual devices, how everything fits together in our, as we go through the actual product. We're going to deep dive onto when I say deep dive, we're going to go as deep as we can for these sessions, because unfortunately, yeah, we're a little short on time. So, having said that, let's go. I'm going to try and hit as much of it as I can, because yeah, you're going to need all that help you can get. So from here, first point that I'm going to talk about is the iVend Enterprise. This is our central hub of how iVend fits together. That's what controls access. That's also what controls who can see what, where, when, how, and why. All the rest of that can be seen, can be set up, can be done through iVend Enterprise. Next one up is iVend POS, right, which is our Windows-based point of sale. iVend POS actually works on, well, pretty much anything. Having said that, there are certain things you don't really want to run it on. Well, it works on all of the Microsoft operating systems, I should say. Some things you don't want to run it on, for instance, Vista, which is just, just avoid. Otherwise, it does actually go and work on most of the others. It does work on most of the other MS, of the other MS systems out there, except, well, provided that they're older than Vista. We do not work on XP, right? Because yeah. But having said that, that is also one of the big questions. That is one of the questions that you do get, is what exactly do you work on? Because as you're going to learn, the actual the CapEx layout for your stores is just phenomenal. The amount of hardware that these stores are buying is, yeah, it really is amazing. Because remember, every single till point has to be a computer, and you'll see how quickly that can go and expand when we get to the next slide. After that, we have the iVend Mobile, which works on either Android or iOS, or Android or Apple, so that's quite nice. Depending on which country you're in, yeah, you can decide exactly which one's preferable. Heck with it, it even depends what industry you're in. I know, for instance, jewelry stores, they tend to favor going and using Apple products. They're perceived to be much nicer. That's Paula just going and asking me if everything's already in set, and yeah, I think we're good to go on the web trading. So the other one is there we go. The other one is our iVend e-commerce. Now, our e-commerce, we've got two options. One option is you can use our e-commerce, which is our e-commerce platform that is available. However, we are getting towards the end of life with the actual e-commerce platform, specifically because, well, it's our own platform. There are other platforms out there that are being used, and we've integrated across to the Magento platform. Now, the Magento platform is well known. It's owned by Adobe, so it's not just owned by mom and pop in South Dakota, USA. It is actually owned by a fairly major corporation, and it's not just going to disappear. It also has a pretty large ecosystem, as well as a couple of free versions that work really well. And yes, we integrate down to the free versions. Having said that, the integration is not free. So yeah, just please be aware of that when you're selling. Next up, iVend Loyalty, and this really is one of our little party pieces that we have is we have got loyalty integrated end to end. And in the next slide, you'll actually see how that works. Well, you'll see some of how that really works and how that really helps us. After that, we also have iVend Passes. Now, your iVend Passes over here work with your iVend Loyalty. This over here works on the Apple Wallet system, which I do see a fair number of companies, specifically over in Europe and America, and also the Far East, are going and picking up on, and quite a few of them are using. After that, we have iVend Reporting and Analytics, because obviously no system is complete without true reporting and analytics to actually see what on earth is going on in there. The nice thing about iVend is you do not need to go off and buy, say, Crystal reports, or go and use your Microsoft reporting services or anything like that to actually run in iVend. Having said that, you can still use that on top of iVend. iVend does run in SQL, MS SQL. So that is available. If you're good at Crystal and the guy already owns Crystal, well, we're not going to stop you from writing things in Crystal. However, we already have reporting and analytics built into iVend that you yourself can use. The tools to go write everything are free in iVend. So then we don't charge for the reporting tools. And then I got some of my local customers, but no, I suppose the ones that you guys might recognize internationally is going to be Vodafone, which we've rolled out in a couple of countries in Africa over here. Samsonite, we've done a couple of those across Australia and the Australia Pacific region, Virgin Mobile, and then of course there's a couple of others, ASICS being another one that we've rolled out across in the Australia region. So, more questions. China, we'll repeat the iVend passes a bit later to explain them properly. That is, as we go and as we go through the system, we'll get a better look at them. Okay, on to the next slide. Here we go. Now, this over here is a deployment landscape for iVend, and I do emphasize that this is a deployment landscape. It is not the only deployment landscape. There are many ways to deploy iVend, as I'm sure some of you know, but there are different, but the important thing over here is this is an easy way for me to explain how all the bits of iVend work together. First point being down here, this would be the ERP system. Now, you do not need an ERP system to run iVend. You can run iVend in standalone mode. That's fine, and then we'll give you, then the reports will come out. You can then integrate, well, you can then go and load those up into an ERP system. So if you're not using something like, if you're not using a direct connection to an ERP, and we do have plenty of those, if you're not using that direct connection, we can still connect through to something. You can still go and run iVend standalone, and you can go and have it working. You can still have it working with another system if necessary. Now, now after that, we go and we communicate to most of these other ERP systems using APIs. We have our own open set of APIs. It is not like some of the ERP systems out there that have a super secret set of APIs that the company uses, and then another set of APIs that the partners use. No, we've just got one set of APIs that everybody uses, and we go and that everybody uses, us, the partners, everybody. So it makes it much easier to program for. And then we get to the actual iVend Enterprise server. Now, this over here is the main hub of the system. It's the central point. And let me just tell you a bit more about how it's built, about how it's set up. First off, we are built on the .NET platform. Okay, so we run on we run on all Microsoft products. It just makes it easier. 90-something% of the computers worldwide do actually run on Microsoft. And obviously that just makes it far easier for anybody coming and using and running with it. We do have a hardware and software guide that is once again available on the City Access Knowledge Portal. Please have a look there. It is available. I do recommend going and checking it because there are certain things you do need to know about, such as your prerequisites that you do need to load up for the actual system. And to give you just a little hint, it does actually tell you your SQL Server collation that you need to load. Now, because we're built on the .NET platform, I will say the next thing that I normally get a question about is, do we run on Linux? The short answer is no. The next question is, well, the corollary question to that is, do we run on Mac or OS X? No, we don't run on OS X. You can run us on a Mac, provided you load Windows onto the Mac. That's simple. Because of course that is always the next question that we get there. The reasons that we don't do OS X or Mac is, well, quite literally, Mac, I suppose a case could be made for it, but our biggest problem with Linux is there's just too many flavors. I know at the moment I think it's Mint, Ubuntu, Debian, Knoppix. There's one that I played with a while back. SUSE, Red Hat, there's a batch of them, and I've played with some of them. They're very interesting. They have some remarkable features about them. However, they're still not Windows, and Windows still has a fair monopoly on most of the PC market. So we'll go with what we got. Also, because of that, we also run on, well, also the other thing with Windows is that, well, with this, and because we're built on .NET, we're actually built in with C# for the core program. And because we've built in C#, everybody knows it, it's very stable. If you want to build add-ons into iVend, and we'll get to that in a slide or two, you will actually you will be able to build those in VB.NET. There, once again, documentation is available on the City Access Knowledge Portal. Right, yes, you guessed it, the City Access Knowledge Portal is once again your portal for all stops. So please don't forget about it. It is the place to go if you need direct information. After that, well, and now that we've covered most of that, the actual server over here, please remember there are certain requirements that go with it. Our hardware and software guide does actually tell you how big a server you are going to need depending on the number of stores that you're running. It'll give you a reasonable idea. We do actually have a fair number of documents that you can use to go and actually figure out how big or how small a set of stores are going to need, and well, how big or how small a set of stores are going to need for their hardware, what exactly they're going to need to do, how they're going to need to run it. That is all available from us. Okay, so that's over there on the iVend Enterprise server side. From there, we're going to communicate across through the lovely cloud of internet across to the iVend Store Server app. Now, the iVend Store Server app, and I do call it an app, and I know people are going to go and ask me about this. The reason I call it an app is not to go and frighten off people by calling it an iVend Store Server. It is not a full-on server. This is at best, a desktop. Once again, you can easily guess, you can easily see over here that if, say, I had 10 stores, then that is 1, 2, 3, 4 computers per store, and you can see how very, very quickly you can start to go and increase the number of computers per store. Retail capex on hardware is huge, like I mentioned. Now, the reason that we have the Store Server app over here is the Store Server is actually a small SQL Express box, depending on the number of, you can run SQL Express here. It really depends on the number of point of sale that you have. If you've got more point of sale than say about 4, and also if you're doing lots of sales, then I'd say rather go with something a bit more. Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. Yes, each store does need its store server. It does need a store server. Having said that, you could have, say, the point of sale. Come on, yeah, you. There you go. The point of sale and the manager station all on the same box. Heck with it. If you, what happens when you do the demo stack is it actually goes and loads up the main server, the store server, the manager station, and the point of sale all onto the same machine. That's you can set that up. Quite literally, I did that for these guys here, Young at Heart Toys. These guys got set up when by the guys. The guys who did this, they set up everything on the same machine. You can do that. That is not a problem. That is another way to deploy iVend. But you can also have it all on one. You can have it like this as well, where it is all split up. And the reason that this store server app goes and runs a small SQL Express database, on that SQL Express database, it goes. It's there specifically if the internet goes down, because, well, I live in Africa, and I see a number of other people who live in Africa, and we all know how reliable the internet is in Africa. Heck with it. We also know how reliable it is in America. When I say America, I mean Latin America, Central America as well. Heck with it. Even parts of the USA, it's not that great. And there are many, many places worldwide where you do not get the gigabit streaming that seems to inhabit places like Silicon Valley, and well, also doesn't and seems to inhabit Hollywood as well with their weird hacking of whatever it is. So because of that, if the internet goes down, you can still carry on processing at the store. If the internet comes back, then iVend will automatically reconnect across because we use web services. This allows for a near real-time environment. Next question. Okay, right there. So I have okay. Aiden, how we work the store manager station. Yes, we're going to get to that. Yes, guys, there are going to be some of your questions. I am going to say we're going to get to that a bit later. The store manager station is one of them that we are going to go work with, I am going to go show you, hopefully in a couple of minutes as soon as we get the architecture laid out. Back to this, iVend is a near real-time layout over here that we can use. Because of this, it means that information travels as quickly as possible from, say, the POS to the store server app, then across to the enterprise, as soon as it can communicate across the internet. Our recommended speed across the internet is 4 Mbps. Okay, it has risen a little bit. I do know, if you've been with me before, I know I've said 1 Mbps. You can get away with 1 Mbps. But the problem is we find that a lot of the places, they go, a lot of the internet providers, particularly in some of the smaller countries, they really don't want to give out too much internet. So we go and we say 4 Mbps is about right for really quick transactions. Having said that, you can go lower. It just means that things are going to take time. But with with a 4 Mbps connection, I've actually seen you can do a transaction at the POS and you can have it across in the ERP in as little as 30 seconds. Yes, and I do know some of you are probably sniggering into your sleeves out there at that, but yes, I have seen it happen for a couple of places. That's not normal. Normally I can see about 2 minutes as being about right. What does happen is we do actually have a weighting system. So we do actually rank what travels first. So for instance, sales are top of the rank. Those move across to the ERP as quickly as possible. Things like price changes might take a bit longer because price changes generally don't need to be automatic. There are several ways that we have an iVend to actually go change the prices as necessary. You can do that. Well, when I say as necessary, you can put them on a timer. So, for instance, you can load them up today and have them only only go and implement themselves at say 12 o'clock tonight for tomorrow. So, by which time they will be circulated around for all the stores. But we'll come across those, and you'll see those as well. I do know there are exceptions to this where people say, yes, I want to update a price at head office, and it must immediately take place at the store. Yeah, that's nice. No, we don't quite do it that quickly. In fact, I don't think anybody does it that quickly, because we go as quickly as possible with the web services. And the nice thing about the web services is that because we're communicating with small packets, we're not going and having things sent across as quickly as sent backwards and forwards as quickly as possible. Well, we're not going and having massive amounts of data being sent backwards and forwards. That's what I meant to say. So you're not doing like batch transfers. Which are batch transfers of text files, which I know some systems still do out there. Horrified at it. With us, it goes and it moves backwards and forwards in relatively small packets. With the new version 6.6 that is coming out, we have actually done a major overhaul underneath the hood of the replication services that go backwards and forwards. These go and move, these specifically move across as quickly as possible. All right, so it has also improved the speed, it has also improved the size as well as the speed of processing across the internet. Okay, so now I've talked a bit about that. Let's move actually across to the actual iVend POS. Now the iVend point of sale itself, once again, it only requires an i3 with 2 gigs RAM. So really you can load the iVend POS onto a pretty small device. You don't need to go and have massive chunks and swaths of space to go and run anything to really run it. But you can actually get away with a relatively small device. Indeed, I have actually gone and run it on some severely underspec devices, and it still actually runs pretty reasonably. The nice thing about it is you can actually also change the front end. And so you can have it look like this, which is how my one looks, or you can have it look like this, or you can have it look like this, or like this, or even like this. Really, the option is up to you. How you want it to look, that's up to you. You can design it. It is actually a tool in the system that you use. It is not something that we program in. So that makes it quite nice and easy to just go and quickly get everything in and sort it out and set up. Okay, that also yes, one final point about communication across the internet. iVend itself is actually certified for PCI. Now, PCI stands for Payment Card Industries. It's PCI DSS. You can actually Google it. It's the latest set of Payment Card Industry standards for things like encryption, and also making sure that you don't have exposed passwords, and you know, your SQL ports are locked down, and you can't just do a SQL injection into there and, you know, scan for an open port and access the system that way. You can't really do that. With iVend, with iVend, that's all locked down. Obviously, we can't prevent other people from going and doing things like leaving a port open, which I would like to point out is if you do that, we're not really responsible for it. That's that's your bad if that's the case. But the important thing with it is that you can actually lock down the system in such a way that people are not going to be able to do a man-in-the-middle attack. They won't be able to read credit cards. Passwords are hashed and salted, and all the rest of it, and stored in encrypted formats. And you will be the system, once it's locked down correctly, is actually pretty much, well, it's as secure as you can get these days, provided that they don't, well, as secure as you can get these days, provided you follow the steps, as well as, and if anybody cracks us, well, then there's going to be a lot of other problems, because the technologies we are using for this and for the encryption standards and for the rest of it, yeah, there's going to be a lot of running around if somebody gets in through that stuff. So back over here to the actual point of sale, which I've talked about. The entire idea about a point of sale is it's meant to be pretty easy to use. And I think if I come across to my point of sale over here, we'll have a quick look at it. You'll see it's designed for touchscreen. It really is designed to be not quite idiot-proof, but certainly right up there. And you'll see I've just gone and I've scanned something in, and that's gone and brought up a picture of it. You can go and, once again, you can customize where things are. You can change things around for different menus. You can also choose which buttons you want and how it all works. There are certain limits, but fortunately, there is some customization that you can do to it, and even more customization in the background that you can do in order to go and change and expand how things work. Right. From there, we go across to the iVend Store Manager Station, which is the back office. This is the management console over here. Yes, we do it. Yes, it is here. Yes, there's a QuickBooks integration I'm testing. Yes, you can access this. You can go set various things up. There are certain limitations when you're setting things up at the stores as opposed to setting things up at the head office, as well as if you are at head office, there are certain limitations about accessing things from the stores. Primarily things like, for instance, you can't do if you're at head office, you can't do a goods receipt for the store because primarily you're at head office. You shouldn't be going and telling the store, oh, you've goods receipted in 30. And the store goes and says, okay, I only counted 5, but hey, if you say I got 30, I got 30. You know, that's the story there. So yes, and yes, I have run into places where they say at the head office, oh no, but we're at the head office. We know exactly what's going on in our stores. And I'm sitting there going, no. If that's the attitude you got, you're being fleeced. So no. The short answer is no. The long answer is no. No. That's not how it works. So that is the specific reason why we force certain things to happen at the store and we force certain things to happen at the head office. And that is also why you can access certain things at the store through the management console and you can't access them through the management console at the head office. And the entire idea at the store side of the management console is this is where you're going to do things such as your goods receipts, goods issues, day ends, stock transfers, stock transfers. You might have the option to do some security settings over here, bringing on new employees, taking off new employees, doing local purchases. That kind of stuff can be done through there. Next up, we also have our iVend mobile POS, once again, Android or Apple. And just check the specs for this. I seem to remember it's up to Android 5 and Apple 7, I think. I'll need to check that. But once again, that's available in the hardware and software guide on the Knowledge Portal. And I do recommend you going and having a look at that. So you don't need cutting, bleeding edge technology to go and run this, but it is advisable. Well, you can't use sort of decades old tablets and things like that. It is advisable to have something at least a little bit modern. After that, we have the iVend. Mobile POS itself. Now, now we have it over here on the outside specifically for things like deliveries. So this is where we are actually going to go and deliver. This is where we are going to go and do deliveries such as you're going to go send things out. Well, actually, I showed you earlier on our specific route here. This is where you're going to get things delivered to you. You buy something in the store and have it delivered to you at home. And that's specifically why we have it out here. You can essentially it's the example of a guy on a bike or guy on a truck going and having things delivered. We see this a fair bit with places like furniture stores as well, furniture stores, pharmacies, various other places. I mean, there are still some stores that do their own drop-offs, but there are also places and courier companies that I know that do it. E-commerce, that happens a lot with as well. So that's very handy over there. Afterwards, we've got iVend e-commerce. Like I said, you can either have e-commerce, or you can either have our e-commerce, it is still available for sale, or you can do Magento. Either of which is acceptable. There's plenty of large name customers out there who use Magento. There are plenty of references for it. Certainly I know of at least 6 or 7 companies down here in South Africa who use it. Some of the more famous ones, if you are in the Southern Africa region, you might know of Cape Union Mart. They use Magento, as well as BT Games is also another one that uses Magento. I do know that. Afterwards, we have iVend passes. Now, I did say I would get to the loyalty when I got to iVend passes and when I got to the screen, and iVend passes are as good a point as any to go jump into it. And the important thing to notice about iVend loyalty is you don't see it as an individual device or thing over here on the screen. That is because it's built in end to end. I can earn loyalty on e-commerce and I can burn the points at the store. I can get loyalty points at store and I can burn them on e-commerce. Either way is fine. I've got it all built into my iVend system, and it does offer a number of advantages over having an external loyalty system. First off, our loyalty system is actually pretty comprehensive. Right? I've not really seen too many situations that it couldn't handle. And typically the situations that we had issues with were more because of people trying to be really weird and funky and clever with their loyalty than actually the system not being able to handle it. And this is something I do have to say is, with the best will in the world, the people operating the iVend POS, typically the people who have to explain things like loyalty as to why a person did or didn't get points, they are not always the best educated people on the planet. They're fantastic people. I've met many, many wonderful cashiers. Having said that, sometimes their math isn't that great. And that's a problem when all of a sudden somebody barges in and goes and says, I want my loyalty points you've stolen from me. And if you've got a loyalty system where you only earn loyalty points at the correct apex of the moon and the planets align and things like that, yeah, good luck trying to get your cashier to go and explain that to the person. That's just something to keep an eye on for that. Having said that, we can actually go. Having said that, the Lunar calculator is due out in, I think, the 3rd or 4th version of 6.6. But we'll have to see exactly what's going on then if we keep that on the roadmap. So, and yes, I am being sarcastic about that. But back to real life. So the entire thing with that is we've got it all built in. We will go through loyalty. I will show it to you, and it is very, very comprehensive about how and exactly what we're going to set in here. You can do some serious things, some very, very serious things with loyalty, and it does work very well. And we have it running in a number of places worldwide, and including a couple of places out here in Africa that it really works very nicely. And the reason I brought up iVend passes for the loyalty is because iVend passes over here go and work with loyalty in certain ways. Now, let me just go and get this set up here, because there we go. So the entire idea with iVend passes is that they can be loyalty cards, they can be gift cards, they can be coupons, whatever you want. They can be actually set up over here. And then the important thing is, as you see these things falling backwards, they fall back into this lovely iPhone that I'm sure everyone out there has one of those, because we are all Apple Nazis. Sheesh, I can't believe I actually said that. No, we are. I do actually realize we are not all Apple Nazis, and many of us are actually using Android phones, which is also why we don't go and use, which is why we don't go and actually just exclusively use these for Apple, because of the large amount of Android phones out there. Huawei, Samsung, ZTE, Tecmo, there's a batch of them. LG, Sony, but enough of that. There are a large number of these out there. Because there are so many of them, we actually rather go and use, we actually rather have an app that you can use on those, where you can actually load the app to simulate the Apple Wallet onto the Android device. And because of that, it does actually mean that you can, once again, use it on your Android device, and you can use it very effectively there. And the nice thing is that instead of having to carry around a loyalty card or a coupon or a gift card. It's actually on your device itself. There's an estimate out there that about 95% of, for instance, 95% of gift cards, for instance, never get spent because they get forgotten about. But, and I do love this statistic because for those 5% of people who do spend, for those 5% of people who do actually spend the gift certificate, they actually go and they don't just spend the gift certificate, they always spend the gift certificate plus more. So it's always worth going and keeping that in mind for that. Questions? How about QR codes? QR codes are indeed available. You might have spotted over here this rather complex binary code that is set at the bottom here. Yes, those are available for the pass. That is something you can set into the actual pass itself and have scanned at the POS. And yes, you can scan it from the screen. I have not had a problem with that. Okay, so because of that, you go to pass.ivend.com. Yes, you can use QR codes for gift cards. That's not a problem. You can essentially for gift cards that are being given as gifts, you do actually get an email for them, so you can actually just forward it on to somebody. You can also go and you'll see when I sell a gift card just now, when it gets sold, it actually asks for an email address and for email address and a name. So I can go say I can either have it sent to myself or I can send that gift card off to somebody else to actually go and to actually use. I can also tweet them, which is kind of nice. If necessary, I can even throw them up onto Facebook. Okay, so the entire idea here is with the pass, you subscribe to it at pass.ivend.com. You will have to go and buy a certain number of passes from us. They are available on subscription. You buy them, that gets loaded onto your account. From there, you can then go and design your template. You do get a whole batch of templates you can use already, but you can customize those how you want. Then you can send the digital passes, either tweet them or you can email them. And that's actually integrated through to your system, so that can happen automatically. There we go. Not really via text. Unfortunately, the pass technology itself is not. The pass technology itself does actually require a smartphone, and if you've got a smartphone, you have got email. So it does actually require that. I do know that. In places like once we get further into Africa, where there is a prevalence of, well, not smartphones, dumb phones, I suppose. Then there is a much greater reliance on text messages than there is on, say, WhatsApp and smartphones and things like that. But there is a greater penetration of smartphones that is happening there. I really am going and seeing. For instance, I was in Malawi about 2-3 weeks ago, and there is a greater prevalence of smartphones there, and it is really growing and taking off. So that is not too much of a worry, but at the same time, I do get your point with the SMSs. We do have an integration to an SMS gateway, so there is another way you can actually go send a message for that. So we could technically do something with that, but it boils down to, if you're going to use the pass, you kind of need a smartphone in order for it to work properly. And there we go. So that goes and integrates through, and it is relatively simple and intuitive to actually use and to connect. So, right, let's just go ahead back across to here. Now, and then finally we have the iVend reporting and analytics. Please be aware, like I said, the basic reporting and analytics tools, your query builder, your report designer, your dashboard designer are all built into iVend Enterprise as a base. That is available. Your actual, if you're going to go and actually use, if you actually want to go and use a web report viewer to go and access them from the outside, you can do that as well. The web report viewer itself is a licensed component, and that's why I've got it hanging around on the outside, because you can pick that up, load it onto a server, and then you can have people dial in to go and view their reports. It is mobile responsive, and that is something I do want to point out about us and the e-commerce. is it is mobile responsive, so it will not end up looking like a page from 2002 or 1997 on your actual device. And if you've ever flown with Mango Airlines, their mobile check-in is not really a mobile check-in. It looks like somebody skinned a page from 1997, and it's a pain. So with us, you don't need to worry about that. You can actually, it is actually mobile responsive. All of the skins that we have are like that for anything you view on a mobile device. Okay, like I said, this is not the only way to go deploy iVend. There are multiple ways to deploy it, subsidiaries, cloud deployments. These are all available. I don't have time to go through all of these with you. You can deploy iVend on private clouds. It's up to you. If you do want to go and do that, feel free. We'll guide you through it. We'll help you with it, and you'll be able to go and deploy that relatively quickly. Like I did say, there is, there we go, there's some more stuff about the secure access, so everything is properly secured in. You're not having to go and, try and get people, well, you're not having to go and try to get people trying to go hack into your place or hack into your customers or whatever it might be. Instead, you can be pretty secure in the fact that, and pretty sure and pretty secure that things are actually not going to go and get out of hand. People can log in and log off, the right people can log in and log off, and the wrong people, well, they'll just get bounced from the system. Final point on the slides, because I know I have kind of killed everyone with PowerPoint on this one, but we are going to move across to a brief overview of the POS and also the management console, which we're going to do deeper dives on those further on in the week. But at this particular point, I just want to go across iVend Extensibility as the final PowerPoint cut. So over here, we've got a couple of points that you do need to know about, and you do need to be aware about, specifically if you are going to go and develop anything. And I do see some of our partners out there who have dev things. So some things to note: one, the iVend API. Like I said, it's available to all of our partners. It's not like we've got the super secret API that only we can use and you guys get a second class version of it. No, we actually have, nope, you get the full version of the API, and that's that. The next one is the iVend SDK. So with the iVend SDK, you can actually build your own additional programs into iVend, or have iVend access external programs. It's basically to go and either, you can use it to go and connect through to things such as payment gateways, payment switches, integrate through to other, in conjunction with the API, you can use it to integrate it through to other ERP systems, other accounting systems. That's all available over there, and we do have a number of partners who have very successfully built their own integrations through to iVend for various ERP systems out there. If that's what you want to do, you're more than welcome to. We will go and help you with that in every way, shape, or form that we can. The iVend SDK, just back to the SDK, to give you an example of this, earlier you saw on my little slide of companies over here, Vodafone, Virgin, and we actually have MTN as well out here in some of the countries. And the entire reason I mentioned that in conjunction with the SDK is that when you're doing companies like that, they do require additional things to happen at the point of sale. For instance, Vodafone, which we implemented in Zambia, they actually went and what happened with them is they said it took them 45 minutes to load to have a customer walk in the door and then to go walk out with an actual phone. We said we can help them get it down. Eventually we got it down to 5 minutes. Quite literally, you walk in the store, you say you want to buy a SIM card. From there, they can run you through the entire KYC process, integrate it through to their billing system, and also have you sign on the touch screen to actually go and get your. You can sign on the touch screen to actually go and get your to get everything signed up and get your documents printed out with your signature on from the touch screen. You could do that all in 5 minutes, and that was built using the iVend SDK. So it is quite a powerful tool, and it does allow you to do quite a bit. Next one up is the POS interface designer, which I've shown you a bit of. You can change the way the front end looks. It's It does take a bit of effort and a bit of knowledge to know exactly what you're doing. But once you know what you're doing, it is actually relatively straightforward to go and change certain things on there. On the actual front end, you can change the columns, you can add columns, remove columns, change where things go fit in. Yeah, my basic recommendation for it is if you're going to start changing things on here, rather pick one of our templates and work from that. Because it's easy, we've got most of the features and functions on there that you're going to want. That way you're not sitting there and going and saying, oh wait, we forgot the, what's that one? It's the, oh, we forgot the inventory lookup, or oh, we've got notifications, or oh, we forgot fulfillment. To me, I've always found it to be easier. You go and you take one of these and you start taking away functionality you don't want, as opposed to starting with a blank sheet of paper and then trying to build the functionality you want, well, trying to go add in the functionality you want to the paper. Once again, it's up to you. I'll leave that up to your personal preference. We also have the report designer, like I've said, the dashboard designer, as well as a query builder that's also there in the background you can use. And then finally, the POS receipt designer. So you can go and do all of your POS receipting. So you can design your own POS receipts and how exactly you want it to look. You can load in things such as the logo for the company. You can go and adjust it and have it display as per normal. So that's entirely up to you. So after I've talked all this and talked your ears off for what looks, yeah, it is actually an hour. We are going to go, guys, I am going to continue on with this, well, I'm going to continue on with this till 12, or at least 12 my time, and then we'll end there. But let's actually go across and have a look at exactly what we've got here. Now, we saw briefly earlier that I went and I loaded up something into the scan bar, and it went and brought up this item. One of the big selling points of iVend, and indeed one of the things we do that a lot of other POS systems do not do, is this scan bar is actually is our really big party piece. We've got a lot of things that are built into the scan bar that a lot of other systems don't. For instance, most other systems that I know of are specifically designed to take an SKU or UPC code. So, for instance, I scan something in, it goes and it searches through, and then it adds it to the actual screen here. My one's running a little low, well, a little slow because I'm recording this, and the WebEx software seems to go and make it a little slower than it would otherwise be. But with us, we actually have about 17 different levels of things that you can scan in here in order to go and actually find stuff. And this could be as simple as just going and typing in, for instance, a name of something. So for instance, Apple, it's now going to go through and it does a quick search to go say, okay, I don't recognize Apple as a complete name of something, so it'll go through and then you see it, Apple printed nightwear for girls, otherwise Apple iPod shuffles. Obviously I've got a lot of Apple stuff loaded here. Some of it is slightly out of date, but well, what can you do? And it will go through, it even finds things like pineapple, so it does part searches on items as well. But before I even get to this point, it actually goes through several other searches as well. First search it does is for the UPC code on the item, partial UPC code, then it even goes through things like serial and batch codes, so it will search for those before it even gets down to the Apple level. And depending on what it finds, it will stop at that level. So for instance, if I've got somebody called Apple, I think Gwyneth Paltrow's one of her kids is named Apple or something like that. But if somebody called Apple, it's not going to find them. It will stop at over here at the item level. For instance, one of my customers in the system, his name is Paul White. So if I type in White over here, it's going to bring up all the things that have got, all the items that have got White in their name, whereas if I want Paul White, I go Paul, and then it actually, and there we go, over there it actually says that it's found a specific item for that. So that's a bit of an issue for him. After all, I can also go do here, customer search, if that's the way I want to go, and over here I can go say Paul, search, and there's Paul White. However, if my customer is unique, And then, for instance, I can go search for a person over here, Edward. By the way, in the demo stack, the Edward Robinson over here, the Edward Robinson account. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. The Edward Robinson account is actually set up specifically for you guys to use and to demo with. Okay, so C0019, that's his account number. I can actually type that in as well, and it will bring them up. But to give you an idea of just searching for account names, I can go type in, say, John, and it'll go through and it will find me all the Johns in the system, including Johnny Griffin and James Johnson. So it does that search as well. I could also search email addresses and phone numbers, if I remember correctly. But once again, those are all available in the system for you to use. So next up, some of the other things we can do on the front end over here. You'll obviously see as I'm going and loading things up, it's calculating taxes and totals and balances. That's all set here. We are optimized for touchscreen. I know I did mention that earlier, but once again, touchscreen. It's the wave of the future for all POS. So having said that, I do know a couple of places that they still use keyboard and mouse, specifically for things like ordering centers, where they'll have a POS system like us, but they'll use the keyboard and mouse. Even so, if you're going to just use a touchscreen, you can click on the keyboard button, and that will bring up your virtual keyboard over here that you can then type things into, and that will appear over here on your scan bar. By the way, your scan bar, yes, it is a scan bar. If you plug a scanner in, set up the OPOS drivers, it will automatically scan through to the scan bar, as opposed to just going and not functioning or not registering. There are, as you see over here, I do have a couple of functions that I can go bring up. I'm just going to go through some of them quickly. Item search, well, that's an item search. There's not really that much more to go say about it, but it's there. It searches for items by the categories that we have over here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Next up, customer search, which does pretty much the same thing. With these categories over here, we can search by. And yes, with touchscreen. Yeah. Moving on. You can also go. You can also have buttons like this quantity button, where it will bring up an actual number pad where you can go type things in. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do. Yeah, let's do 5. There we go. I go enter, it changes the quantity. I do have also the plus and minus buttons over here to change quantity as well. I can do things like even adding in things such as I can do shortcuts through to specific places. And in this particular case, I've actually shortcutted through to the sale item information, the item information screen. This is also available over here as a button. My one's called item edit. If I press that, this will edit the actual information for the item on the line. No, it does not edit the actual information for the item master data. Or product master data, that does not get integrated through, or that does not get changed back there in the system. That is something that that's not the way that we work with the setup here. So next up is, next up on here, you can go see that you can change price, you can change quantity, and depending on which field you select, it will go change exactly what sort of options you get over here. I mean, for instance, this DemoStack setup that I have here is actually set up as a, as a dollar-based account. The reason it doesn't say dollars, it rather says, if I have a look over here at the price, it says R, is because I'm in South Africa. And I've changed it from a dollar symbol to a rand symbol because people out here in South Africa get confused if they see a dollar-based system. It's far easier to just sell it in rands. There is a way to do it, and I can show that to you if you are interested. Right, there you go. Discounts, surcharges. You can load surcharges on where you're going to deliver things from, what location you're going to deliver things from, who the salesperson is for this line item, and you can even have multiple salespeople per line item, and the comments as discussed earlier. However, after that, you can also do the sale edit, where you can edit information for the whole sale. So, right, you can even go, pre-printed folio, which is not really relevant out here, but do they have a loyalty card? Default, where are they delivering it from? Is there a specific salesperson for this? Do they have a specific layaway plan that they're using? That is all things that you can load up here. Having said that, the item edit and sale edit screens are not really actually needed to conduct a sale. And I'll show you that in a minute. As soon as we've had a look at some of these other ones. You can also obviously void an item. So for instance, I want to void that, void item. Yes, that will void the item. Otherwise I can void current transaction, which will reset the entire transaction back to 0. I can also suspend and recall a transaction, where if I go and suspend, where essentially what would happen is, let's say you're in the store, you think you've got everything, you get to the till point, and you're halfway through going and loading things up, and you say, wait, I forgot bread for the kids' lunch. So you run off. So as you run off to go and to the kid get the bread for the kids' lunch, and the person at the actual store, instead of going and saying, oh, hang on, wait, this aisle closed, we're waiting for somebody to get back to us, instead what can actually happen is they can suspend your sale, right, suspend it, and then when you get back, they can go and recall it and continue on with your sale. So when your sale is suspended, the cashier can still get on with other sales. So people are not just sitting in line going and saying, oh, geez, oh, now everything has to wait longer. Know that you can actually carry on with your actual sales as you go forward. Fulfillment. So if I'm having something sold, if I'm selling something to a person, I might want to have it delivered. Similar to over here in my example for the last step here. For this, what I can do is I can say, okay, I want to go add a plan for this. There we go. Actually, add all products to the plan. There we go. And with this, I can say it's going to be delivered. What's the date? What's the time? And I have a question. Indeed, Kirsty. Guys, one thing I do want to point out about this is, Kirsty's asked a very good question here. Does the void function require a supervisor code? Yes, you can have it do that. What's actually happened with my system here is I have turned off most of the areas that would require supervisor code, specifically because I normally use the system to demo, and if every 30 seconds I needed to enter in a supervisor code, it really breaks up the flow of the demo. So yes, what you're seeing over here at the point of sale is not quite a super user. I'd call them a power user, but it is somebody who's got access to 90% of the system. I will show you the example of what a supervisor code would look like in a minute, and how exactly that works. Okay, so just back to this, I can go say, do I want to go, I can do my delivery. Do I want to reserve quantity for this? So if I'm doing a sales order, I can actually say, yes, I want to reserve quantity for this item to make sure that people don't accidentally sell the item, even though it's been saved for somebody else. Next up, we've got, and over here you can say what exactly is which products are getting delivered, as well as are there any surcharges that are added to this. In this case, I've got a DHL surcharge of $15 because I'm using DHL. I can also edit the surcharge if I want. After that, there are a couple of other buttons. Quick complete cache. If I do want to do a very, very, very quick sale, I can press that. But it does mean that I will be required to have that exact change in my actual from my actual customer. It doesn't give me the option to go and give them change back. The next question I normally get from this is, can I go and have that connected through to credit card? Effectively, yes, because you can have a button like the button over here that's connected directly through to credit card. That would work pretty much exactly the same way. On the note of credit cards, depending on what region you're in, we are connected through to a number of credit card providers. That's up to you. Those credit card providers that are available, well, it varies vastly from region to region. We do have quite a few. I know in the Southern Africa region, it is the Innovation credit card, Innovation payment gateway that we're connected through to. And I see they're pretty much all the way up to Kenya these days. So Yeah, we can do that as well. That's not a problem. Like I said before, iVend APIs, iVend SDK, that's how you guys can take charge of that, and you guys can actually go build those if you want. Obviously, if necessary, you can work with us and you can pay us to do it, but that would be you paying us for it as opposed to you keeping the money. So really depends on what people want these days. After that, discount and returns, change price, do line discounts, so I can actually go click that, and once again it gives me the option to put in a discount. There we go. Manager override if I want to go activate that, and next up I can also select transaction mode. Now this is another one of our little party pieces for iVend, is I can go say I'm doing a sale over here to Edward Robinson, but I can also go click say sales refund, and let's go put in another item. And you'll see over here it's actually put in a combined transaction. So this is a sale and a refund in the same transaction. Yeah, we can do that. Yes, I do know certain ERPs can do negative invoices or have a negative line item on an invoice. But in this specific case, it actually comes out as a refund and a sale altogether. You can also do a price check, in which case you can go scan something in, and it will then go and give you the price for that without actually loading up the item itself. And you can also do that, and that will open up the user menu. But we'll come back to the user menu in a minute. Transaction types. You saw earlier with the select transaction mode, it brings up a transaction mode menu. I can go and also just click on the transaction types menu here, and I can have a direct change over here. So instead of going through the menu and then selecting it, I can just select it directly here. One thing is that if you have an ordinary sale like this, you can't combine it with a quote. That's one of the rules within the system, because a quote's a quote. You typically don't buy something and have a quote on the same document. We have that separated. By the way, please check you're going to need to go check your setups as to if the quotes integrate back to your ERP system. Not all the iVend quotes do not automatically, do not integrate back into all ERP systems automatically. For instance, I don't think it integrates back in on the SAP Business One integration, but it does. You do have the option to integrate it back in on the Sage 300 integration. So that's something else to look out for. After that, there's some other miscellaneous things, such as I can add a customer directly from the point of sale if I want to. So if I'm going to do a loyalty customer, I can add them in directly here. Otherwise, and there's a number of things you can see that you'll be able to see on here. Let me go and head across to this one, which is edit customer. Whereas if I look at this one, you'll see that there are a number of things I can edit. Once again, I have got my trusty keyboard I can pop up as I edit things. I also have a drill down over here. It's on this little graph over here, so I can see exactly what the customer's got. And if you remember back at the initial stage over here, once in the store associate recognizes you and brings you your jeans. Part of the way that they would do this is that they can use this, which is the customer dashboard. So you'll be able to go see, oh, hello, Mr. Morrison, here's your set of jeans. Oh, this is your order that's outstanding. I don't have that specific widget available on here, but this is entirely customizable, and it is entirely customizable by you. You don't need to rely on us to do it. You can customize it. You can change it and update it to exactly how you want. And the big thing to note over here is you can actually go and add timers into things like these widgets, which might not seem so significant on the customer dashboard, but on, say, for instance, a sales order dashboard, to go see the number of sales, now processing, order number, whatever, that's pretty nice. Specifically, you might have gone and seen them in like a KFC or McDonald's or one of these ones, now making order this now ready for collection. So that is available over here as well. And it's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you how exactly you want these to look and what you want them to say. Yeah, and don't forget the widgets with the timers. Very handy. And you'll see I've got a lot of columns, a lot of fields over here, a lot of columns. The good news is you can hide these. You don't need to have all these columns over here, and you can hide them on a per user basis. So for instance, your cashiers might need to see some columns, but they might not need to see other columns. And to give you an example of this, I'm going to go over here to my inventory lookup button, and you'll see over here I've limited the number of columns that you can see over here for my cashier. But if I go over here to my management console, and just for clarity's sake, in my management console, I'm logged in as a store manager. You can see over there, even the tooltip says store manager, so it must be true. Whereas over here at the point of sale, I'm logged in as a cashier. It's a completely different user. They are two different users. Whereas over here, if I go to my management console, I open up here and I go and I search for my item. And we go view inventory. You will see I have many more columns over here. But these columns contain things such as purchase tax code, sales tax code, product cost, price, lead time, in-stock quantity, return quantity, layaway quantity, inventory cycles, minimum, last count, all of these things over here. These are all additional bits that you can put in. Whereas over here, at the point of sale, the cashier does not need to see all of that. Indeed, they might only need to go see that you can do that. They might only need to go see what's in stock and what's available. Dead simple. You can also search for serial and batch numbers at this particular point if there is a specific serial or batch number you need to look up in the system. Okay. I'm not going to go and run through too many of these other ones. There's things like customer view, where you can go view the customer that we just, well, we've been through that. Hardware, transaction search, fulfillment. There's my fulfillment button again. Reinitialize hardware notifications and scan new item if you really need to go click that, but that's available there. The various miscellaneous ones that we've just been through, and our different POS operations such as cash in, cash out expenses, Xtape, manage till, shutdown terminal, log out, lock POS, time clock, and open draw. As well as on this side, here's, well, these ones over here, we'll come back through and we'll have a look at some of the different transactions. But at the moment, I actually just really want to get this transaction over and done with. So on this side, I'm going to come across to my payments button. If I wanted to, I could just go say, yes, I'm going to pay this as cash. Click, done. With the payments button, it takes me through to the actual payment screen, and I can carry on talking. Yes. Is everyone still awake? So, well, I'm glad that I haven't made everybody go and nod off, but okay. We're almost done, guys, so we'll be there in the next, there we go, I've got some people putting their hands up. Perfect. Yeah, you're still there. You're still there, Anthony. Cool. All right. We are awake. Yeah. Because, of course, there's nothing worse than going and hearing my voice speak like this all the time when you just want to go back to sleep. Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys are all still awake and still with me. So just over here on the payments, yes, we can do them. We can even do split payments, which I can show you if you want. So let's do a split payment here. I'm going to go say I'm going to pay $100 in cash, and there's the payable amount. When I'm setting up the actual payment types, I can actually say this has got a discount. I can say if you pay by cash, you get a discount automatically. For instance, one of the customers we set up in Italy, they said if you pay more than 2,000 euros in cash, we'll give you a 2% discount. At which point I said to him, well, if you're paying more than 2,000 euros in cash, I don't think you really care about the discount. But that's what they wanted. You can also put a surcharge in, which, please check your local and state listings to go see if you are allowed to do that or not. For instance, out here in South Africa, it is technically illegal to go and put a surcharge on a payment type. Because typically the surcharge would be something like, oh, you want to buy a can of Coke with a credit card. Okay, well, because it's going to be a credit card and there's an additional transaction fee, we're going to go say that's going to be we're going to say, well, the Coke is $10, but, well, whatever it is these days. It shows the last time I went and I bought a can of Coke. The Coke is $10, but it's another $5 extra that we're adding on for the credit card fee. Which you could do over here for this. Of course, nowadays they'll just say, no, you need to spend $50 with us to use a credit card. So much for that law. Over here, but back to this, I'm going to just spend $100 in cash over here. And now I'll get back to you. One thing I do want to point out about this is you can have as many payment types as you want. You are not limited. Quite literally, you can load up as many as you want. It's really how many you want or desire. These include things such as foreign currencies, as well as loyalty, store credit, coupons, gift cards, credit cards, debit cards, whatever else you might want. There's even a custom payment type you can set. And you can even set specified foreign currency amounts. Yes, iVend is a fully multi-currency system. You can take payments in whatever currency you want. So long as you got it set up in the system. You can also do things like checks. Though to be honest, the only two places I know that still use checks are Nigeria and Kenya, and the US and Canada, but they don't really fall into my region. So yeah, that kind of says a lot. To be very honest, most places these days I see do not do checks because the chances of fraud are just astronomical. All right, but let's go finish off the second half of this, in which case I'm going to go put it on account, and you'll see I've got slightly different options over here, including a customer code and customer name. So, right, but those are all preset because I selected the customer account earlier. And once I do that, I can click OK. And then it's processing the payment. Yay. And there we go. Okay, so that's now gone and processed. But there is actually something I do want to show you, which is something you can activate on your system, which is my little simulated receipt printer, which will give me an idea about what actually has been bought and what's been sold, and will give me an idea what my actual receipt is going to look like. It's not perfect. I will be the first one to go warn you on that. It's got these little artifacts in it. And also it doesn't render a barcode because, well, that's just the way it is. But the important thing to note about it is that it's there and at least helps you to go get things into a format that you can use, as opposed to you going and saying, well, according to the programming, it should look like this, and you try to go figure out where you've dropped a comma. You can now look at it and say, oh, okay, all right, so this is how it's more or less rendering. Okay, well, let me see what I can do. And then you're not wasting reams and reams and reams of thermal paper trying to go find out exactly what is going on there. Now, if I go over here, I'm just going to go copy this barcode, which is at the bottom of there, and I can click complete, and then I can go over there, and I can even scan the barcode in. And what that will do is that will bring up this transaction, so I can see, aha, okay, right there. So these are the items that were sold or refunded or whatever the case might be, but these are the ones that are included in here. And if I want to, I can say yes, and we're going to do a sales refund on that item. There we go, sales refund. And from there I can say, say cash. There you go, that's how much I'm paying him for that. That's how much he's getting back from that. I click OK, that's gone through. I click complete, refund done. At the same time, I can also go and do things such as, at the same time, I do want to show you some of the promotion abilities in here. So let me just go bring up one of those. So I scan in this specific item, and you'll see it automatically goes through and says, aha, you've bought this item, so you get 50% off on something else. I'm going to go choose my store gift card just to show you some of that functionality. And that goes and appears over there. And it's actually appeared in a different color. And you'll see when we go through the management console, tomorrow by the look of it, you can go get this in, you can have this in different colors very specifically, because this goes and allows you to go and mark this promotion in that color, which means, and let me just add one or two more items here. Yeah, and I've triggered another promotion. Okay, but you see over here, I bought those two and it's taken, I put on another promotion. The entire reason it's got these different colors over here is to go realize, okay, this promotion has been activated and enabled. So if I come back and complain about the promotion, hey, I didn't get my promotion, you can go, you can actually ring up the sale and it will still have the colors in it. So you'll be able to say, oh yeah, but you did actually get your promotion. So sorry, too bad for you. Oh, let me go through and just say cash, do a quick payment for this. And you'll see when I went and I sold that gift certificate, because it's coming through as a coupon or as a gift certificate, it's now asking for my customer information. So earlier we had the question around what happens if you go and you sell if you sell an item, or if you sell a gift certificate, can you have it automatically delivered? The short answer is yes. I'm going to go and put this to my one. There you go. So you can go send that through over there. That will email itself through as soon as I go and I turn on my, get my email up and running. From there, the other side I did want to show you is the user menu. And this is the back office side, and it actually brings me up to one of the questions that I had earlier is what about management control or management approval for these things? And one of the transactions I have here is cash in and cash out. So I will come back to the rest of them, don't worry. But cash in and cash out are two of them that actually do actually go and trigger my approval system. Now my approval system over here is actually a multi-level approval system, so it's not just one person who needs to approve it, it's two. So I can go say who the username is, and please approve. There's automatically selected to approve. I go log in, and okay, well in this case it's single user approval, but you can have multiple. So over here I can then say I'm going to cash out 20 bucks. I can even enforce them putting in a comment. So unfortunately I can't enforce good spelling. There is no spell check. So if somebody does do that, yeah. But at the same time you can see who does it, and you can say, well, you've been a very, very naughty boy or girl. Go sit in the naughty corner and think about what you did. And if you're and depending on your state laws, you might even be able to go sort of to go and smack them over the head, well, to go pat them gently on the head with a newspaper. All right. So that over there is the actual management authorization. I do want to point out about this as well. We do also support biometrics using the URU 4500 digital persona scanning system. So you can also go put that in. You can also then just scan it, and it will automatically scan your finger and for the manager, and it will automatically log them through and get that all set up over here and allow them to carry on. Some of the other options that we have here is avoid current transaction, suspend recall, a more comprehensive transaction search. This will allow you to do searches over multiple things in the system and even do searches over multiple stores. X-tape report, new scan, which is just to go say that you need to do a new scan, and show all scan transactions, which will give you a list of scan transactions over there. Customer search, registered customer search, as well as you can also do a gift certificate search for a specific person. So if they want to go and see how much is maybe available, you can go and even do things such as cashback or recharge on gift certificates, which is kind of nice. Next up, your hardware setup. So what sort of hardware are we using? I've got a receipt printer and a poll display. As you've probably guessed, these are actually the ones that are over here. These are the programs that I've set here. How many of you know what a poll display is? And by the way, I'm not talking about the what the ladies do at the local gentleman's club. I'm talking about a poll display in an actual shop. Yeah, no. Well, I'm glad you're still with us, Victoria. Right. So a poll display. Okay. I will now summon the power of Google to display what a poll display is. For the love of all that's holy, make sure you've got your safe search on. This is a poll display. That's an example of a poll display. Okay, so I think you guys have seen them. You probably just didn't know what they were called, but these are what's there. You can go and have them. You can go and have them pop up. Well, you can have them attached to the actual POS themselves. There we go. Right. And now, yes, and now you know. Okay, so moving on. That's one of the things I've got attached. The other one is a simulated receipt printer. Hardware, one thing I do want to point out about this is there are two standards that we use essentially. The primary standard we use, and the one that most point-of-sale systems out there use, is what is referred to as the OPOS standard. Now, also known as the OLE for POS. Also, it's a version of the Unity POS driver settings that are there. It is universal. Most places around the planet use OPOS for retail. They're their own set of device drivers, and how you're going to get them and how you get them to run is actually markedly different than the way you normally do with Windows. Having said that, they are actually, having said that, once they're in, once they're running, you just leave them and they just run. That's it. It's very rare for them to actually have a problem because they are so old school. We do have a webinar that I did a while back on getting those things in and running and working. So you can go and have a look at that. That will actually guide you on how to get these things set up. We are, just to point out again, we're a software company. We don't normally deal with the hardware side. So we do have that's why we have the recommended hardware and software list. So you go and you have a look and see what you can get. You have a look, see what the guy has, see if it'll work, see if it does work with OPOS, and you should be fine. Okay, but once again, just check what you got, see how it works, and see what you can go get set up and how that actually works in your specific environment. So with that done, all right, you can also go and reinitialize the hardware because sometimes you do need to do that. We do have a very basic time clocking feature set in here. Now, this is not a comprehensive time clocking feature. It's not going to clock in everybody in the store. Not going to clock in your packers, not going to clock in all the people in the background working if there's a warehouse or anything like that. It doesn't do that. What this does is it goes and it will clock in the people in the just who are working on the point of sale device itself. It's not going to go clock in anyone else. So like I said, it's fairly straightforward, it's fairly basic. Clock in, you can also go on break, come off break, clock out, you print the session for the day, print the day, and shut down the terminal, provided you've done your day end. You can also build and break kits, which this user does not have security access to carry out this operation. But what that will allow you to do is, how many of you know about kitting? Yes, guys, I have asked you a question. I do ask questions every now and again, specifically because I need to know, one, are people still there and I'm not talking to a dead mic? And two, are you guys actually learning something? So how many of you know about kitting? There you go, kit, K-I-T. So, okay, I'm guessing not too many. So with kitting, what actually happens with it is essentially, if you're familiar with a bill of materials, not familiar, got no idea. Okay, right, there we go. If you're familiar with a bill of materials, essentially a bill of materials is a group of items that are generally transformed through the production process into something else. That's kind of what happens with kitting. Once again, this is one of the differences between ERP and retail. ERP, it's a bill of material with a production process. In retail, it's a kit, so with certain items in it. Right, so let's have a look at, so we'll go deeper into kitting further on down the line because we are running out of time, unfortunately. But the kit over here, essentially, you go and you get your bits, you get the bits and pieces together. You put them all into something like a box, and then that becomes a kit. One of the examples, a couple of the examples I've seen are for photographic equipment. Well, let me see. There's photographic equipment as well as video game consoles, as well as hampers, which generally sort of your Mother's Day, Father's Day hampers. I recently saw them for Father's Day. That was some of this, one of the ones that popped up, as well as Mother's Day. Which essentially, so what happens with the Mother's or Father's Day hampers, there's, for the Father's Day hamper I saw, it was a whiskey appreciation crate. So apparently what they do is they get a crate, they put like they put a nice decanter in, a nice whiskey, some nice glasses, maybe some other bits and pieces to go and make it, maybe a cigar or two or something like that. And then essentially it's sold as a completed crate, or in this case, a completed kit. That's essentially what it's sent out as. For cameras, I've seen it where you'll buy a camera kit or a beginner kit for your cameras, where basically what happens is you go and you get, you buy it, and it will have the camera body and a camera lens and a, camera body, camera lens, strap, batteries, camera case, maybe some cleaning things for it, and maybe a lens flare filter or something like that. So that would essentially be a kit. Yes, also known as bundling. Yes, this is the same as bundling like gift baskets. Yep, that's exactly it, Jacqueline. It is also like bundling. You get all the stuff together, it forms a bundle, and yeah, that then gets processed through the system. Now you can create those either through the point of sale over here, or you can go create them through the management console at the back office over here. Require manager approval. You can also click that if you want, and that's the manager needs to go and do, needs to put his approval on it. You can also lock the POS, get system information, which will tell you what is being used in the system at the moment. As soon as it loads up, we might ask you, if you ever place a support call, well, how about this? When you place a support call, you may be asked to go send them to this, well, send this to us, and you can then go and copy and paste this. Well, we even include a copy to clipboard button. So there, copy to clipboard, paste and send to us. And we can go and get it all in, and we can go see exactly what the problem is. Logout, restore layout. You can even, the request remote support is disabled at the moment, but that will be back in a future version, as well as you can shut down the terminal. Manage tills, we will go through the end of day process later on in the week, as well as open cache drawer, 1 or 2. You can actually have 2 cache drawers associated with 1 till. That is possible, and you can choose which one, how those go, which ones are used. You can also go and cache in or cache out, and finally you can even put through an expense to go say, hey, we needed to buy more thermal paper for the tills. You know, you can take out a bit of cash from the till, somebody can run off, buy the thermal paper, come back, return the change to the cash drawer, and then go load up the expense to go say, hey, this person at this place at this time bought this item. Last thing I want to show you on the point of sale, and that will actually be a very good place for us to end, is the help. Now the help itself is actually, normally in most Windows programs, help is found by you press F1. But over here, for various reasons, we don't actually have that connected here, primarily because you can actually put hotkeys on some of these buttons that will actually be linked through to the F buttons. So those are there. So that's something that you can put in as well. In order to get to the help, you press the buttons Control F1, and it will bring you to our actual iVend POS help. And it is actually genuinely helpful. It does actually tell you how most things work. This front end over here is another one of the front ends that we have. If you actually look, you can see it's the buttons at the bottom are linked through to the F buttons. That's something else you can do. Well, like I said, you can do that as well. There are some things I do want to point out about this. For instance, there is a thing over here for saying step to perform a sales transaction at the POS. That is something that is set here. You do actually get a question on this. when you write the exam, so that is something to look out for. Yes, you can say thank you later. I take bribes and beer. You can send that. CO. Never mind, guys. If you're really going to send me that, well, I'll send you my address and you can send that to me. But as well, it'll go through things like age verification, weighted items, and a lot of the other things that I have not been through in the actual today for a lot of this stuff because we just don't have time. But this is a pretty comprehensive look at the actual point of sale. Once you install, please remember that you press Control F1 to access the help, because really it will help you. Please remember it. If you learn one thing from this entire thing, pressing Control F1 to access the help is, yeah, pretty much what you need to know. Once you do that, you then at least have got some way of saying, oh, special orders, how do they work? And then at least it's slightly easier for you to go and use the right language to go and find and search what you're looking for. It does also have, and speaking of searching, it does also have a search in it. So as you can see over here, I was searching for awards, and no, it does not have anything on awards in there. Might have it in the management console help, which we'll have a look at tomorrow. But please remember, Control F1 is how you access it, and it is really a lifesaver, particularly if you're trying to describe a problem to me. And yes, I have had some partners who say, "Oh, we can't remember how to do blah." Have you read the help? Oh, no, they didn't read the help. Well, if that's the case, then go back, read the help, and then go and then talk to me about it. So we'll see if that goes and solves that. And on that note, I'm going to bring today to an end and a close. Unless there are any questions that are out there. Okay, any questions? Now's a good time for questions. If there are any questions, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Well, not really. You'll just hold it until tomorrow, but I will try not to bite your head off then as well, but yeah. None so far. None. Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. Glad that you guys are all still relatively awake. I hope you guys at least got a coffee or two while I was there, while I was going and rambling on about this stuff. But okay, please, if I know what happens is you guys go and say, oh, no questions so far. Hang up, go away, do something. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. What about this? If you do have one of those moments a bit later, please write down the question. Please go and bring it to us tomorrow, and I will endeavor to answer it as best I can, even if at the worst point I might say about it is, we'll come to that a bit later. That's the worst thing that might happen. So don't worry about it. If there are no more questions, I'm going to go say thank you very much for joining me, ladies and gentlemen, for this wonderful time. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you guys are not asleep. Well, some people have not been as interactive as I hoped, but I certainly hope that they are not actually asleep. But then if you have any more questions, let me know tomorrow. I'm going to then end this now. Thank you so much and have a great day.